It's time for a look back at our top stories of the week. Mike Yenni returned to public office in Jefferson Parish for the first time in more than 4 years after leaving government office amid controversy. The former parish president started as the chief deputy registrar of voters. Investigative reporter David Hammer got the exclusive interview with Yenni.
Mike Yenni calls his sexually explicit text to a 17-year-old in 2015 his only mistake in life.
I made one mistake in my life. I'm not going to keep reliving 9 years ago and going back to that time. It was a mistake. I apologized. Myself, my family, we've moved on.
Yenni sent texts to the teen shortly after his high school graduation. Yenni texted about underwear he gave the youth, asked him to wear them, and told him he wanted to perform a sex act on him. At the time, he was a 40-year-old husband and father, mayor of Kenner, and running for Jefferson Parish president. The teen later identified himself publicly as Alex Daigle. You say you apologized to the public and everything. Have you apologized to Alex Daigle?
I think when I did that video back in 2016, if you carefully listen to it, I apologize to everyone involved.
Parish Council Chairman Scott Walker says that's not good enough for him and his constituents.
Countless phone calls, countless emails have all been in opposition to this hire, not one in support of it. I have a platform that I can use to speak for the people that I represent, and that's what I'm doing, and this is not a good move for the registrar's office or for Jefferson Parish.
Walker admits the parish can't prevent Registrar Dennis DeMarco from hiring Yenni, but it can withhold its share of Yenni's salary, about $20,000 of $78,000.
So if that's their decision, I have to stand by their decision. I've never really done a job for the salary. I've done it for the public, and I've always done that.
Obviously, we haven't done a story in the last 5 years about everything that happened and recounting 2016, but now here you are representing the people again in a public office. Why do that as opposed to stay in the private sector?
It's an opportunity for me to come back and serve the public in a great capacity with one of the most important things out there, voting. And on top of that, it's apolitical. So I am out of politics. I have been out of politics since I left office in 2020 and haven't endorsed a candidate since 2016. So I'm working in an apolitical environment and so happy to be, back where I feel I belong.
David Hammer, WWL, Louisiana.
For the first time since Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans city leaders confirm a hurricane shelter could be in the works. Our Amelia Strahan shares what the city has in store.
For the first time in decades, city officials confirm a hurricane shelter is on the table. In an exclusive interview with our partners at the Times-Picayune New Orleans Advocate, NOLA.com, NOSEP Director Colin Arnold shared the city's informal game plan.
We've continued to work on a plan for a refuge, and I think we're in a good place.
Arnold told NOLA.com he could have a major shelter up and running by next week, and the city has a few options for locations, including the Recreational Development Commission centers and the Convention Center. But there appear to be a few missing pieces, including funding and the number of people the shelter can accommodate. WWL Louisiana reached out to Arnold to ask him about these gaps, but he wasn't available for an interview.
It's a lot of work because we're developing a plan that really is not completely based on what local resources can support 100%, so it has to be a partnership.
After reports of inhumane conditions inside the Superdome shelter of last resort during Hurricane Katrina, the city has shied away from opening a shelter. But in recent years, hurricanes have become stronger, faster. According to National Weather Service meteorologist Lauren Nash, this makes it harder for people to evacuate in time for landfall.
Any way we can get people to safety is better than nothing. It's obviously very difficult to evacuate so many people in such a short time period.
And the recent rapid intensification of storms is why former FEMA Administrator Craig Fugay says a safe place to go for those who can't leave town will save lives.
Reality is not everybody can get out. So it's always been this balance between opening shelters while you're trying to get as many people to leave, and you don't want to give people the false sense that staying behind is their best option. But for a lot of people, that is their only option.
In New Orleans, Amelia Strahan, WWL Louisiana.
Dedicated, selfless, and kind. That's how fellow firefighters and friends describe a Mandeville firefighter who died recently. We take a look at how his fire district plans to keep his memory alive. A black ribbon is wrapped around the sign outside Fire Station 41 on Girard Street in Mandeville. Underneath it, pictures of a man fellow firefighters say left a big impact.
We're absolutely heartbroken right now. Jason was incredible.
Jason Como spent the last 6 years as a firefighter and EMT for St. Tammany Fire District Number 4. He died Saturday. Friends say he was battling health issues.
It's a huge loss for not only me, but a lot of the guys around the fire department.
To friend and firefighter Spencer Bean, their friendship was almost immediate.
Found out real quick we had a lot of similarities. One was playing music.
Bean says Como was good at just about any instrument, especially the guitar, which they played together. Whether through a game of baseball behind the station or a phone call, Bean says Como cared about his brotherhood.
He would often come in on his off days to just cook breakfast for a crew.
Bean says Como's love for the fire service started early.
Grew up across the street from a fire station, started volunteering at a really young age, and eventually went on to become a career firefighter.
He learned his craft. He did it well.
Jeremy Wyndham with the fire district says Como's dedication to service was on a different level.
It didn't matter if he was on duty, off duty, he wanted to help. He was there.
When he wasn't helping people in need, Como was lending a hand just about anywhere.
He had the intrinsic desire to help people, to the point that you can't train somebody how to do that. He just had it.
He also had something else, which he lived by.
Kindness was his motto.
It's a motto that will live on across the district.
We will continue to carry on his memory, his goal of serving people without hesitation. That's Jason, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
A New Orleans mother showed up to a crime scene to find her son dead. Since that tragic day, she holds on to the hope that his death will be more than just another homicide number in a database. We sat down with that mother, who said violence was the opposite of who her son was, but it was violence that ended up taking his life.
We're gonna hang his hat for him.
To Charlotte Hayward, her son's trucker hat is more than just a hat.
This was actually the hat he had on the night that this incident happened.
That incident was last weekend when 32-year-old Brandon Hayward was shot and killed in New Orleans.
August 3rd was just this, you gotta be kidding me.
His mom says he went to a party at The Island, a bar in the 3100 block of St. Roch Avenue. Less than 10 minutes later, he was dead after she says someone started an altercation.
He never was about the violence of anything. So for me to see my child lose his life to violence, I felt like a statistic.
To friends, Hayward was a mentor known as Fats, a nickname he picked up as a kid. To family, he was a comedian, an animal lover, a sous chef for his mom's catering business, a visual artist, and a self-taught musician.
We're gonna miss him, the beautiful spirit that comes in and lifts everybody up. We're gonna miss that.
Through the grief of losing her youngest of 4 kids, Hayward hopes something good will happen.
We all we got. We have to take back our community. We have to do this ourselves.
Family friend and founder of the Hope organization, Michael Willis, says he sees senseless violence shatter too many families. He says communities must do a better job of rejecting violence.
We can't lose our hope. We can't lose our faith. This is a spiritual, mental, physical war that's going on.
I know that he is going to be guiding and helping us now.
Through ups and downs, Hayward says her son was always known to give encouraging words. To keep that spirit alive, she's framing his beloved hats and giving them out.
If they love Fats and they need some reassurance and they need help and they need support in their business, in their home, in their life, he's gonna hang his hat there.
Local experts say COVID-19 cases are going up across the New Orleans area. One doctor says cases have increased tenfold in just the last few months. Eleanor Tabone has the story.
More patients presenting to the emergency department and more patients getting tested for COVID, and then more patients being positive on those tests.
The Biden administration declared the COVID-19 public health emergency over back in May of 2023. But that didn't mean COVID disappeared.
What we're seeing right now in Louisiana is of all the people getting a COVID test for whatever reason, about 25% of them are coming back positive, which is a dramatic increase just to compared to 2 or 3 months ago.
Dr. David Jans, Director of Medical Critical Care Services at University Medical Center, says a similar day in May, there were 4 patients across all LCMC hospitals with COVID. He says today, there are 44. Dr. Jan says just like 4 years ago when the virus emerged, this variant isn't picky.
A lot of kids presenting to the emergency department with respiratory illnesses, and a fair amount of those kids being diagnosed with COVID.
The New Orleans Health Department said COVID-19 has been trending upward, and Louisiana is currently experiencing a high number of cases. According to the Louisiana Department of Health, however, COVID-19 positivity decreased from 22% to 18.8% over the past week, but remains high. CDC data shows Region 6, which includes Louisiana, has the highest COVID-19 positivity nationwide.
There's a lot of COVID circulating here right now.
Dr. Susan Hasek, an epidemiologist with Tulane University, says she expects to see cases increase as kids head back to the classroom.
Oh, very definitely. Cases are likely to go up. I think it's really important for everyone to recognize that if kids or teachers or parents are symptomatic, they should consider the fact that it could be COVID. And if they're symptomatic, they shouldn't be going to school.
She says a loss of taste and smell are good indicators you may have COVID.
We certainly are not yet seeing increases in mortality, in deaths from COVID.
Eleanor Tabone, WWL, Louisiana.
A scathing 38-page audit of NASA's Michoud facility revealed some big problems. The document calls workers inexperienced and undertrained, even citing the facility's location in New Orleans East as part of the issue. Amelia Strahan has more on what city leaders have to say about that report.
If you want to go to orbit, you got to go through New Orleans.
That may be true, but an audit from NASA is questioning if they want to. On Thursday, NASA released a 2-year-long audit, revealing some serious problems at Michoud Assembly Facility. According to the report, an Artemis project planned to send the first woman and person of color on the moon is at least 7 years behind schedule and $1 billion over budget. First, the report points the finger at Boeing, claiming their quality management system is missing the mark, saying, quote, "The lack of a trained and qualified workforce increases the risk that Boeing will continue to manufacture parts and components that do not adhere with NASA requirements and industry standards." Later, it blames Michoud's location in New Orleans East, adding Boeing isn't offering competitive salaries, leading to inexperienced and undertrained staff.
Blaming New Orleans or blaming our workers, as the report does, seems to be scapegoating or gaslighting at the corporate level.
But President and CEO of Greater New Orleans Incorporated, Michael Hecht, disagrees with the Inspector General, saying Michoud has a solid track record.
It just doesn't square to me that there's an issue there with hiring enough qualified workers because we've been doing it for so long, so successfully.
And City Councilman Oliver Thomas described the report as unfair, claiming Boeing's issues aren't exclusive to New Orleans. From plane doors falling off mid-flight to safety issues, Boeing has been the subject of a number of mechanical failures in recent years.
Maybe they should get to the bottom of their issues first before they start disparaging American communities.
We don't know what's ahead for Michoud, but for now we know you'll still need to go through New Orleans to get to orbit.
It's here to stay.
In New Orleans, Amelia Strahan, WWL, Louisiana.
The New Orleans City Council could soon enact new rules surrounding Myar balloons. This all comes after one of them caused a power outage, which set in motion a chain of events, resulting in a citywide boil advisory. Eleanor Tabone caught up with 2 council members to find out what the new rules could look like.
We know that we are working with a fragile system, and if there's something that will make the system a little less fragile at this moment, then let's do it.
Entergy New Orleans says Tuesday evening a Mylar balloon hit a power line and caused an outage to the Sewage and Water Board, causing water pressure to drop too low for too long. Councilman Joe Giarrusso says this whole situation and why the parish is in it is frustrating.
This is the balloon that caused the trip to go on at Sewage and Water Board. Then there's the issue with the gentleman who was severely injured. Why wasn't things more automated with him? Why is he the only person apparently who seems to be there? Why wasn't he tended to much faster?
The councilman says because of this, he's pushing for an ordinance that'll prevent something like this from happening again. He says that ordinance could ban releasing Mylar balloons or even the sale of them. But all that's still being worked on.
Is it an outright ban in Orleans Parish? Is it prohibition against release?
He says it's an immediate problem and says those caught breaking the ordinance could be fined.
And obviously we're not sending somebody to jail for releasing a Mylar balloon.
I think that it's reasonable to think about a limitation on or an elimination of the use of Mylar balloons because of what we've seen, not only just the other day, but in other instances throughout the city.
Councilman Eugene Green agrees things like this are preventable.
If we didn't have a Mylar balloon the other day, we would not have a ball water audit today.
He's calling on residents to think of other ways to celebrate or remember people they love instead of releasing balloons.
I think New Orleanians are very, very sympathetic to those who need air conditioning and who are on life support equipment. I think that we'll be able to address this through a combination of information and legislation.
Councilman Giarrusso says council plans to vote on the possible ordinance in 6 to 8 weeks. Eleanor Tabone, WWL, Louisiana.
A date has finally been set for pedophile priest Lawrence Hecker to stand trial on rape and kidnapping charges. The trial is now set for September 24th, but we still don't know if Hecker is competent. WWL Louisiana investigator David Hammer has the latest.
District Attorney Jason Williams says he can't wait to try pedophile priest Lawrence Hecker on charges of aggravated rape, aggravated crime against nature, kidnapping, and theft.
Little kids went to adults many years ago and they told them that they were hurt by a grown man. And adults in the system, adults who work with that adult, ignored it. Courts ignored it, other DAs ignored it, and frankly, this is as close as we've gotten to holding him accountable, and I'm gonna do my dead level best to make sure that we can.
Today was the 7th competency hearing for the 92-year-old Hecker, and we still haven't heard from Dr. Sarah DeLand, the court-appointed psychiatrist who evaluated him.
But we have her report, and I'm confident that that report is consistent with other reports. That means that this individual is competent to stand trial. We're getting very close to the rubber meeting the road.
Another doctor, Hecker's treating physician, says he's developed dementia.
That has nothing to do with whether or not he can assist his counsel with moving forward, whether or not he knows who the judge is, who the state is. He said it before. He said the prosecutor's job is to try to put him in jail. And he said his defense attorneys, their job is to try to keep him or get him free, right? And he knows the judge is a referee. So he knows what's going on.
Aaron Hebert alleges Hecker molested him too in 1968. He came to court to support Williams on behalf of other abuse survivors.
He thanked me for my presence, and I thanked him for at least taking this case on, because no other DA would take this case on in the parishes that Hecker represented with the Archdiocese.
Hebert said that constant delays have been painful, but it felt like a victory to finally get a trial date set. David Hammer, WWL, Louisiana.